What is the problem here? Because CJ Koome is condemning the same thing.
Can you see the
Speaker Wetangula is condemning the same thing.
CJ, these two, the other two are running independent arms of government. Okay, this one is in the executive. He directly sits with the president. He should have raised. I have not seen Honorable Muturi say today during our cabinet meeting, I did raise the issue of abduction. I wish he can come out and say, I raised it before the president. But instead, running to mortuaries, running for press conferences.
How do you know he hasn't?
He should have said. I mean, he's been speaking.
I'm asking you, how do you know he hasn't?
He hasn't, because I also speak to colleagues who are in the cabinet.
But they have taken the oath of secrecy on issues conversed in cabinet. They don't.
But he has come out to defy that oath of secrecy.
No, he's talking about what he thinks is going wrong in the country.
There's nothing secret about raising an issue in the cabinet.
Just hold on. I mean, you and I don't sit in cabinet. I'm just asking you a question that you're claiming he has not pursued it in cabinet, and I'm asking you, how would you know? Because
I'm telling you, Sam. I'm young in politics, but there are things that I read through when I see individuals on certain quarters trying to raise them. And when I see CS Muturi going to the mortuary, when I see CS Muturi raising this matter of abductions in a press conference, when I see CS Muturi and his attitude of late, I know what is happening politically. Okay. He simply is a man who is daring the president to fire him. And I'll tell you this before I close, that he has called for it. And you will see it. In a week or two, CS Muturi will be home.
He'll be fired?
He will be fired.
How do you know that?
I know. I am telling you, asked me questions before, and I'm telling you, he has called for it. He has pinched the president's nose, and I can tell you for sure, he is a man going home. It can even be today.
That must hurt.
It's a very privilege for you to be a member of a cabinet of 22 men and women out of our population of about close to 60 million. So it is a privilege to perform the duties of a cabinet secretary. And I want to ask my colleagues in cabinet, please do not look for excuses when you fail to do your duty. Kenyans, they know which public officer is performing and which public officer is not performing. The citizens can give us a scorecard. And a very good example is the former deputy president. Because of incompetency, because of not performing well, that is why Parliament in its wisdom impeached him. So I really want to ask our colleagues, and we must respect, if you are privileged and you are very unhappy and you are a cabinet secretary, the best thing for you to do is to resign. It's not fair for you to engage a very unhealthy, inappropriate altercation with your appointing authority, who is the president. It is not very fair. So I really want to ask my colleagues that, and there are many people who resigned from cabinet. If you look at the history of Kenya, former President Kibaki, when he felt he had a different political role to take, resigned. And please, there is a space for everybody in our country. Every one of us in the cabinet can choose what he wants by just telling the president, I want to become an opposition, I want to join the civil society, I want to criticize your government, so Mr. President, give me a break, I want to resign. But you cannot have your cake and eat it. You cannot be in the civil society, you cannot become an activist, you cannot become an opposition, at the same time be a member of the cabinet. The oath we took as cabinet secretaries, I want each one of us to go and internalize that oath. And if what you are doing does not consciously, does not agree with the oath you took to advise the president, to defend the Constitution, to to work for the people of Kenya diligently, then the honorable thing to do is to resign.
Dear countrymen, I've been quiet for some time now, and many people have been asking me where the country is heading and where we are, and so I would like to state as follows. I joined the Kenya Kwanza coalition owing to the fact that the principles that they espoused are in tandem with the principles of the party I belong to, namely the Democratic Party of Kenya. Many friends and political colleagues at the time warned me against joining the coalition, but at a personal level, I was persuaded that would be driven by the ideals and the values that the coalition stated as a hustler nation to do the best for the people of Kenya. One of the things we had accused the past regimes of was the existence of disappearances and extrajudicial killings of Kenyans, and we vowed that we would never, at our watch, condone or allow such. We stated this time and time again in the lead up to the last general election. Today, there has been a number of abductions and in some cases unexplained deaths since the Gen Z revolts of June last year. And it is unfortunate as most of the people being abducted and or killed are our youth, leaving the parents, relatives, and friends, other family members in a state of confusion and loss. I have personally served as my son was abducted and disappeared, and I was not sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me and my wife and the rest of the family in turmoil. It must be remembered that at that time, I was the serving Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, and as is well known, a member of the National Security Council as comprised under Article 240 of the Constitution. Despite making several requests, I was unable to trace my son, and I made demands to all the levels of the security apparatus of the country. Now, more than 6 months later, after that ordeal and the release of my son by unknown forces, he has not been charged with any offense, and the government at all levels has not been able to give me any explanation or reasons as to his abduction by hooded armed gangsters. Ladies and gentlemen, I have taken this unusual, The security sector has said that they are not involved in the abductions, but interestingly, they have failed to stop them as they are happening in full public glare. The president has equally said that he would want to see the abductions end. Kenyans want to know how many of our youths have been taken in since the abduction started, how many have been released, how many are still being held, and where it is that they are being held. On Friday last week, to wit the 3rd of January, at a funeral in Embu, I stated categorically that it was not possible for the government to say that they did not know anything about the abductions, because that amounts to shunning its responsibility on accountability. That is why I took the issue with a statement made by the Inspector General of Police that he did not know where the abductees are. In my view, the government cannot be excused for abdicating its duty of protecting the lives and property of the people of Kenya. I note that after my statement in Embu on Friday last week, a number of the youths that had been abducted and held in Communicado have been released. But from the reports that we see every day, there are still many that are still being held. The cardinal duty of the state and the government is to protect the lives and livelihood of its citizens and cannot claim to be unaware of such serious breaches of the rights of Kenyans to live free from wrongful confinement and the violation of their inalienable right to life. Therefore, the security forces should arrest and bring to book all those that are involved in the abductions without fail, and all the young people being held in illegal captivity should immediately be freed. I'm fully aware of the doctrine of collective responsibility of cabinet. But since I'm also a victim of the abductions and serving in this government, I've not gotten any answers as to why my son was abducted, held in Communicado, and nobody gave any reasons for that abduction. I have taken this unusual step so that the matter of abductions and or extrajudicial activities being committed by whomever can now be honestly and robustly debated in the country with a view to finding a lasting solution to this scourge, which, if left unchecked, has the potential to plunge the country into chaos and anarchy. We cannot live in fear in a democratic country. Let Kenyans be. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.